Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 3 Martini Lunch. My name is Jay Izso, and I am joined by 6 of the best when it comes to the business people. They will be serving up their thought leadership libations, if you will, as their bartenders. But it is now my pleasure to introduce to you the royalty of relationship, the knight of networking, the king of connection. He is the lead singer of Rockstar Connect, and he is the head bartender and your sommelier of the 3 Martini Lunch, Stephen David Elliot.
Thank you, Jay. Really appreciate that. I'll tell you, as soon as I hear that welcome, I get a big smile on my face and get invigorated, as does everyone. So we really appreciate it. Well, welcome back to another 3 Martini Lunch, a virtual networking event put on by Rockstar Connect in the Success is Contagious mode. Glad to see some people returning and some people that haven't been with us for a few weeks. I got to tell you, it's really exciting out there. Things are moving very fast. I think that's the way I heard Jay explain it. Probably a little faster than we would like it to be, but fun nonetheless. Lots of new things. If you are in business right now, you probably have never experienced anything like this before in your life. People are buying. Sarah and I, earlier this morning, we went to a local big box store, and it might as well have been a yard sale. There was so little stuff there to buy. Really? Are you guys experiencing that in your areas? Yeah, the liquor store with like half the bottles in it that they normally do. Now, it's being explained to me why we're having a liquor shortage. One is demand is up 65% for alcohol. So in the country, 65%. I don't think we increased our population by 65%. And also we have a glass shortage. So there's not enough glass for breweries to bottle their liquor. Excuse me, distilleries to bottle their liquor, breweries to do their beer. So I guess I hope everyone is doing what I'm saying is I hope you're doing your Christmas shopping now. The Christmas stuff is already in the store and that's almost sold out too. They're selling, reselling Halloween decorations online at a massive profit. So if you don't have your Halloween decorations for this year, you may not have anything at all.
Hey, Stephen, I went to the grocery store last night and they were out of zucchini, broccoli, and squash.
And that's like your dream.
It's crazy.
It's like that's what you live on.
Yeah, they said food shortage.
A lot of kids out there are excited about it. Costco just put out there that they will be having a shortage of toilet paper. So I imagine a lot of people will be running out and getting toilet paper. You can, if you come from another era, they used to use corn cobs. So you can go to the farmer's market, strip the corn off the cobs, and there you'll have perfectly serviceable toilet paper. Can't flush it, but if you have a neighbor you don't like, you just throw it right at their house. Throw it right over the fence. Rena's laughing because they still do that in Oklahoma.
Yeah, they put it right next to the preparation H, Stephen.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, this week, Katie has made a question for us that we're going to discuss. And I'd love for you to share the question with us and why you selected that question, and then we'll move forward from there.
All right. So if you could have a second chance at one event in your life, what would you choose? What would you do differently? And how would your life be different now? So I'll put it in the chat. And
you're gonna have to help me remind that one. That's a long one.
If you could have a second chance at one event in your life, what would you choose? What would you do differently? And how would your life be different now?
Okay, it's the middle part that's getting me. So the part that what would you do differently? If
if you could redo something. So I'll just go first. Mine would have been, I would have not gotten my master's in elementary education. I think it was a tremendous waste of money. I would have just gotten a teaching certificate because teachers at least in Charleston in South Carolina, are barely paid any different. Because I did a career change. So when I was 28, when I was 27, I went back and got my master's. I thought it would make a big difference in what I got paid, and it didn't. And now I have this huge debt of like $50,000 that I easily could have avoided because A, I didn't teach very long, and B, it maybe made like $1,000 difference in my salary, which is like nothing. So could I have seen to the future, I would have just gotten a teaching certificate, and not my master's. And how would it affect my life differently now? The only thing that would be different would be I wouldn't have this huge debt.
That's true. I mean, as an entrepreneur, when I went to go look to get my master's degree, I looked at the dollars of cents in it and I said, well, it would make a lot more sense for me to hire 5 people with master's degrees and let them produce and me make money off of them. Because of the amount of work that they would have to do, I could basically have their master's degree just for the promise of having an income for them if I needed.
It just like these days, having your MBA doesn't even mean it's like it's a dime a dozen unless it's like from Princeton or some one of the top. I just feel like there's entrepreneurship is so different that it's, I say, more popular. It's more common than it was 10 years ago when I got my master's. And then, even 20 years ago when a lot of people were getting masters and MBAs, a lot of people, that doesn't matter as much anymore to people. Now, you couldn't even get a receptionist job without a college degree. And now people are like, screw that. I'm just going to start my own company. And it's like, are you good at it? Are you willing to learn? I just don't think it matters as much anymore to people. And the master's degree, especially as a teacher, I didn't learn anything in my master's program at all. I learned everything when I student taught. And even she wasn't a very good student teacher or teacher, like for me to learn from. I learned really like my first year teaching that class. And that is when I learned was with those poor kids, because you learn by doing, and it just didn't make, it like kills me, honestly, that I have that huge debt.
Will be that same way with a college degree soon?
I honestly think in 20 years, it will be 20, 30 years, it will be very different. I think it'll be more like, okay, you want to go into marketing, so you're going to go into a 2-year marketing intensive program. You want to go into, it'd be more specific into like actually what you want to do. So like the new trade schools, but typically those tend to be more like labor intensive things now, but I think it'll end up being for all types of people want to go to school to learn what they want to do and be done, not take 4 years of like history from the Civil War. It's like, oh, it's interesting. And like, yes, we learn from it, but like, that's not changing our career. It's not affecting our careers unless you want to be a history teacher or, it's so, I think it will become more of that.
For unemployment, I have a degree in African history and Jewish studies, and people say, what are you studying for? Unemployment. Because I'm not going to be working in that career.
I mean, my degree was
a lot about Africa.
My degree was sociology for undergrad. And that's just, I only chose that because it was an elective I had been picking that I was getting A's in. Like, well, I guess I'll major in whatever I'm good at, like what I'm doing well in school, and then figure it out later. And sociology is, the study of how and why people do what they do. It's sort of like a communications degree. I was able to kind of spin it like that on resumes, but nothing about that undergrad degree taught me anything really beyond just interesting things for my life now. I mean, everything I do now is
trivial pursuit, I bet.
No, I'm not good at like mind, like say thinking things, but like I'm not good at like stuff like that, like trivia. I don't know, that my brain doesn't work that way. But I learned by doing on the job kind of stuff, and I think most people do. And so I would hope school will become like that one day. It's really college. The whole point to me of college is to learn how to balance work and play. it's the time to like party your butt off and also make it to class. And I think that's like where you learn that life skill. But
that should be one of the degrees. It should be a double minor.
yeah,
Partying your ass.
And believe me, I had the most fun in college, but does anyone really need to do that for 4 years and not really learn and like not really have anything applicable for their life's career? No. And also you don't know. I grew up in LA where the odd job out was a doctor or a lawyer. Like I went to school with every single parent was in the TV and movie industry. And literally the odd job out was a doctor or a lawyer. And so I grew up very sheltered when it came to jobs, the careers that a person could have. And so I was like, well, I don't want to do any of those three things. So I don't know what I want to be.
You knew how to like make a pitch. Like say, I would say, hey, I'll give you 5 minutes, pitch that story to me. I mean,
no, I didn't learn. I mean, I didn't learn that either. I just didn't know I didn't know what careers were out there. And so I feel like there's just, I don't know. I just feel like in college didn't really expose me to any other job.
Then if you think all the way back to high school and you go to a guidance counselor, obviously they didn't make a good career choice. How are they going to help you make a good career choice? Right, Jay? I mean,
that's awesome. Being a guidance counselor is a bad career choice. I got to tell you something. That you're right. I mean, it's horrible because you basically have a degree in something that doesn't matter, and you're helping kids find a degree in something that doesn't matter. That's what you just did. You're helping Katie find a degree in sociology so that she has something that doesn't matter later on down the road.
I mean, nobody tells you should go you should go get a job, go to school and get a certificate in HVAC repair and refrigeration repair, or like got to be the best job in the world being an elevator repairman, right?
It has to be. I have one. I have an elevator in my beach house, and
they just on standby.
They show up, and then they do what they do, and it's pretty cool, and then they go away until they come back again.
Yeah, I mean, it's like buildings used to have like a guy that's all their job was. The bigger buildings, you're required to have an elevator repairman like on staff. It's a great job. Okay, so that question, Katie, why don't you pose that question to Andrew, because Andrew's got a lot of energy today.
Yep, I put it in the chat. So if you could have a second chance at one event in your life, what would you choose? How would you redo it? How would you do it differently? And how would your life be different now?
So I would go back to when I was probably 17 or 18 and say no to a lot of things I said yes to, and say yes to a lot of things I said no to. Like I would not have gone to college at all right out of high school. I think by doing that, I kind of got lost in purgatory, not really knowing what I wanted to do, because I wasn't interested enough to even, decide to go all the way through learning 4 more years of stuff. And then I went up in a kitchen, which I really loved, and I learned a lot about food and cooking. But I could have started my second career in life, 4 years earlier if I hadn't postponed it and gone that route. So, yeah, I think that's really broad spectrum. I don't know that I would have gotten my real estate license at 18, but I would definitely have said no to college straight out of high school and said yes to more, kind of like what you were talking about, Katie, but on a bigger spectrum, not just partying all night and still going to class, which I managed to do a little bit of, but like even doing why the hell not pack the car and travel? And when you run out of fuel and money, you get a job washing dishes till you can fill it up again and do more of that sort of stuff, kind of live that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, a lot of our seniors are taking advantage of the whole world is on reset. Sort of like in between, we don't know exactly where it's being, and you have this nomad lifestyle where people are hopping in vans and they're like, let's start vacation now.
Yeah.
Why wait? It's like, I think it's the same thing. It's like when I had been married 13 years and I was having an argument with my ex-wife, and my father said to me, well, only 5 more years. And I realized that he meant only 5 more years until your daughter's 18. You'll get a divorce then. I'm like, Why wait 5 years? Does that help my ex-wife? Not in the least bit. It's like you got to do what you want to do when you got to do it. Life is, the cliche is life is very short. And in the age of pandemic and COVID, certainly very short. Now, if I was to become, if I could do it all over again, one event, I'd like to be reborn, be the Messiah, resurrect the dead. Just kidding.
Whoa.
Okay, Rena, let's get you
Oh.
to answer the question.
Now we know why they're out of liquor.
Well, I want to tell a story that will eventually get me to the answer of this question.
Oh, boy.
About 10 years ago, I saw an ad for a job. And this job was at a school in London where I got my voice degree. It is the premier school in the world for voice and acting. Well, I said to my husband, oh, look at this. There's a job opening at Central. I think I'll apply. And of course, it was just a cavalier choice to make, knowing they would never want me, but I'm going to apply anyway. My husband says, yeah, go ahead. So I started the application process. I got a call. I got an audition. So we do an audition on Zoom. I have a group of students in the US that I'm going to coach. And then there's a panel in London, a very high-placed theater people in London. And I could tell they were liking what I was doing. And I went home to my husband and I said, oh my God, I could actually get this job. And as it turned out, I was offered the job, which would be for me the epitome of my dream job, my dream location, my dream school. My husband said, yeah, no, I'm not going to London, not even for 2 years for an adventure. Well, then I started letting my fears, Rena, you're too old. Rena, you're going to lose money by this. Don't do this. I turned down this job. I could right now be living in London, which is my artistic heart's home. I could be having the adventure of my life, but my fears kept me from taking advantage of the opportunity. So that's the one thing that I would redo if I could.
Yeah, how can you pursue that again? Something similar to that.
I think that opportunity has passed for me. I think now I'm doing something else. I'm probably too old to relocate, to do all the things, the visa, all of the things to get to London. It's such a complicated process and probably at this point wouldn't work for me. But you know what? Knowing that a school like that actually wanted me did tremendous amount for my confidence and my imposter syndrome, which we all harbor.
So if a fantastic opportunity arose again, would you let your husband hold you back from it? He's not watching.
I don't know. I think probably not. Although I'm not sure that he's as much in control of me as my fears are. And that's what I have to grapple with every day. And I think we all do. I don't think I'm alone in this, that every day we intentionally decide I'm going to live my dream. I'm going to live my purpose. I am not going to let my fear today dominate my choices.
Very cool. I wonder if where you are in your life makes a difference too, because, Katie's, younger than me. I'm probably about the same age as you. We're all different ages here on the panel. Regret's a big thing. Like I worked with people that had regret. I was a social worker, and every single person, that was the common theme. They regretted what they did. So I said at that point, I'm never going to have that regret, and made a total change of career and did exactly what I wanted to do, and did that for a number of years. And then said, you know what? I'm sort of bored with this now. What's the next thing? What's the next challenge? Throw it at me. If someone came to me with a great opportunity, that's what I tell people in the networking events. They say, what business are you in? I don't say I'm in the networking business or I'm in the real estate business. I say I'm in the opportunity business. Let's talk about opportunities to do great things. Damon King, would you like to answer the question? Are you in the opportunity business, by the way? You offer people opportunities.
Absolutely. I'm in the opportunity business, both for myself and for my clients. In fact, I am a big proponent of don't wait for opportunities. You're never going to find the perfect time. I think I've said here on this panel many times before, I've got clients that spent their whole lives saving money, building wealth so they can take their dream trip someday after they've raised their kids and put them through college and done all this stuff. And you sit down and you're now here at the meeting and we're all retired and everything's great and life is good. We can't wait. And 3 weeks later, they come back and say they've been diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
All those plans, all that waiting now is all for naught. And so I tell my wife all the time, we're not waiting. We're not waiting. We're going to be financially prudent, but we're not waiting. I love my children to death and I would do anything for them. But I am teaching them to be self-sufficient, even at the ages of 10 and 8. Mom and dad are not going to support you. Even if we can, you're going to get your butt out there and work and you're going to figure it out yourself. And we'll be here to teach you. Anyway, that's not answering the question, but that's where I'm at. As far as my, something I could go back and do. So kind of like Rena, I'll tell a quick story here. So my senior year in college, I went to the counselor and, you do a degree check, right? To figure out how many more credit hours do you need to graduate. By this point in my college career, I was done. I was ready to be done with college. I just wanted to get the hell out of it. So I went in and they said, Mr. King, you only need 9 more hours
Oh my God,
to graduate, less than a full-time load. I'm like, okay, well, that's great. I can cruise this last semester, all right? And so when I did that, I also had to weigh this against the fact that I had an academic scholarship and a vocal scholarship. So I had 2 scholarships together that were paid for everything. I had 0 debt all the way up until my last semester in college. And I didn't need 12 hours, but in order to keep those scholarships, I had to have full-time status. So I needed 9 hours. The smart thing would have been, you know what, just take 1 extra class, keep the scholarships, and everything will be all right. But I took the easy path. I thought, oh, I'm going to be smart here. I'm not going to work as hard as I had, and I took the 9 hours and I lost my scholarships. The kicker to all this is that a few weeks later, I get a phone call and the counselor says, Mr. King, we wanted to let you know that there was a miscalculation. You actually need 12 hours to graduate.
Oh my God.
I'm not sure that there's a level of anger to express what I felt at that time, but I realized it wasn't until years later. I blamed it on the counselor. It wasn't until years later. I was really mad at myself because I took the easy way out. I wanted to cruise. Now I worked full time through college, and what little expenses I did have, I paid for myself because my family couldn't afford to put me through college. But I've never forgotten that. And if I had, and the crazy thing is that because I lost my scholarships, how did I pay for that semester? I got my very first credit card to pay for it. So I put that last semester on a credit card. Unfortunately for me, that wasn't the last time I used that credit card. I was 23 years old, graduated from college, and then I used that credit card for the next couple of years, so that just a couple of years later, by the time I was 25, I had $17,000 in credit card debt. I had no money. I'd maxed out all my credit cards. Life was not good, I would go back and change that. I would tell my 23-year-old self, listen, dude, just take 1 extra class. 3 extra hours is nothing compared to the next 2 to 3 years of torment and misery you're about to put upon yourself. I would change that. Now, I credit that period of my time as inspiring me to do what I do now as a financial advisor. I swear to God, I will help, Lord, anybody avoid the mistakes I made, because that's what where my passion comes from. So I don't know, maybe I needed that in order to put me where I am now. But I'd kind of like to go back and see, if that were true or not. So taking the easy road led to actually a harder path. And I'd probably be much further ahead. I'm now 45. And I look and I think, how much money, How much wealth did I give up by not taking one damn class? You know, can't go back and erase it, but if I
Race,
could,
and
I
you
would.
really can't have regret for it. That would be like my clients that had regret, because what happens is it takes you down that path. Like, I don't regret being married to my ex-wife. For one, she provided me with a great daughter. In addition to that, the entire, to say the entire 13 years was awful would not be true. There were certainly, good times that were shared. And if I hadn't married her, I wouldn't have married my wife, my current wife. I wouldn't have married Sarah. Right? that would not have been a possibility. So I don't really want to change anything in the past. I would like to, just sort of help people recognize opportunity. Do you remember there was a Surgeon General, her name was Donna Shalala. I think she was way back in Clinton. She made an expression. I don't know if this was from her childhood or whatever, but she said, opportunity is like a bald-headed man with one hair left on their head. You got to grab it while you can.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Right. So what I would say, when she said that, I said, this is the perfect close. And I have used that close, I don't know how many times, with my clients, and I'll refrain it. I'll say, it's like, you got to grab it while you can. And then I go right. And every single one of them go right. And then we go to making the decision and exploring the opportunity. And a lot of sales is helping indecisive clients. I went down to Fayetteville yesterday for a woman who now I have sold for her primary residence that she didn't like. She bought another residence. Now she doesn't like that residence. We're getting ready to sell that. She's only been there for 3 months. She was damn sure she was going to sell it. By the end of the evening, she stopped answering her phone calls. In the morning, she doesn't want to sell it anymore. But then I brought her an offer $75,000 more than what she paid for it in May. I think she's now looking at that at least as an opportunity, and something that she's not going to regret, because it's going to put her in a much better financial place to walk away with that $75,000 and downsize her house. I think, as entrepreneurs, we have that problem all the time with clients, because we need to balance. Are we doing it for our clients' benefit wholly? Or are we doing it also because we're making money and we're getting a commission? And as fiduciaries, we better not be doing that. We better be looking out for their best interest and going over what the opportunity it really is and what is the cost of opportunity. Why don't we go over to Clint, and then we'll go to Lisa, and Jay, we'll let you close out and get some of your impressions. Okay, Jay? Clint.
What's up, Stephen? Hey, everybody. So
one hair left on your head.
Yeah. I mean, not really, bro. I mean, it's there sometimes. So the thing that I would go back and change, one of it is I would keep playing tennis. So I let my would-be high school coach get into my head a bit. I was a chunky little kid that he didn't know that could play, and I let him get in my head and stop playing competitively. At that point, I was 16 years old and ranked 20th in the South, and could not bring it to myself to play anymore competitively. I still played on, with my friends and whatnot, but it was just the whole interaction with him. And he later, we had our thing. It's a long story. I won't bore everybody with it, but we had our thing. And later on, about a year later, he was dismissed from his duties at the school that I went to. So it was just a whole thing. And I wish I could go back and definitely do that. I think that would, I don't know how much it would have changed my life necessarily, but I guarantee you, I would have never gotten to 317 pounds. So,
I mean, is there a possibility you could go back and play tennis in a certain type of league, or?
Oh, I have my USTA membership. I play in a league here in Hillsborough and Durham. So I still play, and I play with some friends, every so often, when I'm not playing golf. I prefer to play golf, but I do play in a league, and actually got some stuff coming up here pretty soon. But I mean, I'm not saying I would have gone professional. I was pretty good. I'm not saying I would have gone professional, because as you guys know, that, going professional in any sport is a very, very, very low percentage, very, very low percentage. I didn't go to college. And so I don't have any regrets like that, or any, changing, going that back there and not having student loans. But, I mean, as I said, it definitely would have changed my health and been, I'd have been stronger mentally for some of the things that I went through, throughout my years after that. But, that's probably the only thing that I would go back and change.
I mean, you could have been a tennis hustler.
I mean, who says I'm not, Steven?
I heard you're a golf hustler.
Oh, definitely not. Golf is way too inconsistent for me, brother. Tennis is very consistent, a lot, not easier, just
The difference between Sher and myself, her grandfather was a professional golfer at the highest levels, and my grandfather was a golf hustler.
Right. I aspire to be a golf hustler. I'd quit what I'm doing now. I promise that.
I'll give you some tips. Lisa, what do you think about the question? Do you have an answer for us today?
I love this question, and I love this question at this time because this is a question I've probably played with like every couple of years or so since I was, I don't know, somewhere in my 40s, which was a long time ago. Anyway, because I'm going to answer the question how I would have used to have answered this question, and then what I have suddenly had epiphany just during this call is that the one thing that I would have done differently when I was 18, instead of running away from home and getting married, I would have run away from home and joined the Peace Corps. That is the thing that I really wish that I had done. And for the longest time, I hung on to that. And then I realized that I was a young mom. They were 21 and 22, and I was 21 and 20. They weren't 21 and 22. I was 21 and 22 when they were born. So it was always like that target of 40, right? My youngest turned 18. And we lived, my ex was in the military, I'd grown up in the military, we lived all over, and my driving force in raising those kids is that they were unstoppable. Not to believe any of the crap. I like to swear, forgive me if one slips out, I really try to monitor my language
go right
when I'm
ahead.
on someone else's call. So the bullshit institution that people say about what is and is not possible. And I raised my children to think differently than that because I had no confidence in myself when I was 18. I didn't have any confidence in myself when I wound up getting divorced when I was 28. And I worked in a factory, and I was, it was the lowest day in my life. It was just like, how did I go from this 3.9 GPA student to being divorced, living with my parents, and working in a factory? How the hell did that happen? And I worked really hard that second time in school. And I thought everything was all about the degree. I became a computer programmer pre-Y2K, if that means anything. If there's anyone older than a millennial on the phone, you remember what that, and we were like gods back then. It was crazy. The money that they threw at us. I mean, every 6 months, I was just like, I never even got all the other jobs before that. Never got as big a pay raise as I got every 3 or 6 months. And it was crazy. And then remember that magical age of 40, I was just like, my youngest turns 18, and I raised them to be independent. All of my friends, their kids were never leaving home. And mine, I took them to where they were going. My youngest went to Texas. She said, I'm never living again where it's cold. And so then it was scary because now I had lost that driving force of my kids, right? They weren't there 24/7. And it was just like Lisa's dreams coming true. And I didn't realize that all of that work I had put in, all the energy that I had put in, I decided I was becoming a coach because that was the only word that I knew for it, because I didn't want anyone else. It's not fair to say to have to struggle like I did. The crap that I went through, that's a longer conversation and not really germane to this. However, I didn't want any other person to ever say that everyone else is right, I'm wrong, I really am worthless. And I have built a career on that. And I have worked with people. I mean, some of these people, they're just so freaking amazing. And I'm thinking, why the hell are you hiring me? And, I've been around the world. I've worked in a war zone. I've lived in a tent. I've lived in a Connex box. I've lived in, villas and mansions. I have a great place here in Raleigh. And, at some point in the not too distant future, I'm relocating to Panama because the life experience and the juice that goes with it, all I fucking need is an internet connection, and that's it. You know what I mean? Everything I have here is fabulous. Yeah. So that's a lot of it. And I realized,
I mean, isn't that something like, you're sort of in pandemic and you can reflect on that?
Yes. That I realized that, yes, I probably would have changed that. However, even though I haven't joined the Peace Corps yet, I said I might be 80 when I
I mean,
choose
you
to
may
do
have, your
it.
whole life you might have been in the Peace Corps,
A
but
whole
just
lot,
not in the
yes.
official Peace Corps,
Yes.
right?
I've spent years in the Middle East, it's everything is an adventure. And that message is still there that I
And I
teach
think that
people.
one of the things that the internet has taught you is really, you have everything. You have everything already. There's nothing more you really need.
Mm-mm.
Nothing more left out there to buy. There's just, you
Oh, I
made it.
still do. There's lots of stuff to hang on the wall. I just don't
There's
need to keep it
going to be
forever. I
a
can pass
second
it on.
question today, just an answer yes or no. We're going to have a little time at the end. I'm going to ask you made it, and you can tell me if you made it or not yet. That's all you have. That's the only way you have to answer. Okay. That'll be after we go to Jay. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, you know what? I'm watching everybody and listening. First of all, I think some of the smartest people I know never went to college. Some of the most successful, smartest, genius people that I've ever run across don't have a college degree. And the question is, what one event would I change? And I think, Katie, I think it's a great question. And I don't know that I had thought about it very much because I'm not one who goes back and thinks about too often the things I regret. I'm one of those people who believe very strongly that forgetting what is behind, I go forward to what is ahead and pursue that hard and just try to leave it. I learn from it, move on. But I will say that I spent years in college and graduate school because I thought I was going to be a professor in college and was pursuing academia. And I did that. I taught psychology, statistics, experimental design, lifespan psychology at different colleges and universities. And I hated it. And I kept pursuing it, thinking that is what I had to do. Because I thought I needed to have a job. And you know what the definition of a job is? Just over broke. That is the definition of a job. And I needed a career because being in academia was not a career. And I should have, my regret is, and it's a regret, but it's really something I changed. I would have gotten out of academia earlier because I am doing stuff that I love and that I'm built to do.
Well, that's a fraud of academia. It's sold as a career. It's only a career for the very few elite. For the rest of them, it's worse than a job.
It is. I am, my company's called Coaching Mavericks because I am a maverick. I do not do well in structured environments. If you put structure around me, I get to be very, very antsy, and I don't always play well with people in the sandbox in those environments, honestly. And then the other piece of it is as supposedly academia is supposed to open up our creativity. The fact of the matter is, if you want to see how to stifle creativity more, just go into academia. You will see that you have to play the political game because they are not open to new ideas, because that's just not the way we do it here. And if you don't follow the rules, we don't want you there. As a matter of fact, there was a write-up in the News and Observer about me because I was trying to do something different back in 1994, 95. You can find an article about me where they said Jay Izso was the wrong person at the wrong time because I kept challenging the status quo and I wanted to do right by the kids. And I didn't listen. I still went back into academia after all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I'd have gotten out of that. And I tell people all the time, I tell young people all the time, listen, if you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or something that requires a degree, then I understand that you need to go to college. If you love to learn, go to college. But don't think that success comes because you have to go to college, because that's just not true. And how would things be different, Katie, which is even a better question than the first one, is I would have started the career that I'm in so much earlier that I love. Because everything that I do has nothing to do with my education. I have never taken a speech class in my life, and yet I speak around the country and get paid well for it. I was a C+ student in remedial English in college, and I've written 4 books that have been published and translated into foreign languages. I have never taken a broadcasting class. I have an international podcast in over 80 countries around the world, and it's on radio from coast to coast. All right, so what's the lesson here? The lesson here is go with what your natural gifting, talents, and abilities are. Get to learn yourself so much better. Learn who you are. Learn what your strengths and weaknesses are. Learn what it is that you have a natural affinity for. There is if you remember the Venn diagrams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody seen the Venn diagrams? So people, if you want to know where your passions or purpose lies, it's the 3 A's, right? Your aptitude, right? What you have an aptitude for, what you have an affinity for, and what people affirm you for. That centerpiece where all those 3 meet, that's your passion and purpose. Aptitude, affinity, and affirmation. And I don't care how old you are. I don't care, Rena, I don't care. Go freaking act. Be an actor. Damon, you know what? Heck with it. You get an opportunity to be on stage and you get to do a US tour and sing, by God, go. Katie, if Taco Bell wants to send you to freaking Timbuk3, you just go to Timbuk3 and eat tacos to your heart's content. You know, Clint, if somebody says to you, you know what, would you pick up a tennis racket and just become a full-time tennis coach at my college? Do it. You know, whatever that is for you, don't let age, don't let your thoughts, don't let your fears, like Rena said, don't let your fears, don't let your lack of education, don't let your common sense, it's aptitude, it's affinity, and affirmation. If people are telling you that that's where you should go, you better start listening to it. And start listening to yourself. Right? I mean, because, you know, we're here together and I think we're friends. I feel like we are. I feel like we've known each other now. I think we're all friends. And I know Stephen, you and I are close. But the truth of the matter is, I know there's other people watching. I cannot encourage you enough. I cannot inspire you enough. I cannot get under your skin enough to tell you, find it. Take something like the Strengths Finder, buy the book, get the code, find out what your top 5 strengths are. Go take a Myers-Briggs test online and find out what your natural affinity is for your extroversion, introversion. Take the Ocean test, right? It's the big 5 personality test, just to find out more about yourself. But then look at what you gravitate to. And if you gravitate to it, and if other people are telling you that you're perfect for it, and then you have an aptitude for it, do it. Don't wait.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fantastic advice, and it goes further because, you know, there's that cliche, you know, do what you like and the money will follow. That's probably a lie. The money
it is.
Right.
Rabbi Daniel Lapin, who I love, by the way, if you've ever read any of his books, they're fantastic. Secrets to Success, Biblical Secret Success, and he's got several books out there, has said the biggest lie is that, you know, people say do what you love. That's just not true. Because it's a lie. Because you know what? So say that you want to be you want to be the conductor of an orchestra. Do you know how many conductors of orchestras are out there?
More than there are orchestras.
Not very many.
Mm-hmm. Well, also it's a matter of, you know, it's not a matter. It's do what you like that you are good at.
Right. That's different.
People, and then success will follow, and that success doesn't have to be money, because then you will be happy. The happiness will follow, and happiness is success.
Right. It is. Yeah, you have to define that up front. I think people want to make. Listen, I get it. We got to make money to survive. I understand that. Right. I get that. But then beyond that, right? What is your purpose? I mean, Katie, you have I think you have found a purpose in your life that these bicycles and these kids are just that important to you. And I don't know if it keeps you up at night and you go, how can we do better? How can we do more? How can I get more of them? But I'm assuming it does.
Yeah.
Right. And that every time that you get a donation and are able to help these kids get another bike, there is something inside you that just feels so fulfilled. It may not put a dollar in your pocket, but by God, you feel like you are on top of the world every moment that you hear another story.
Yeah, it motivates me to do more every time.
And how much money did it bring you?
Like my salary.
Yeah.
Like what a teacher gets paid, very minimal.
Right. But you wouldn't change it to me.
Look how much shit you have to eat to be a teacher for that thing.
Right.
I'll
Right.
give up money to do something that I enjoy doing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I think, I think about that all the time, is that, I get to do what I do every day. I get to inspire people every single day of my life, whether I write, whether I'm on a podcast, whether I speak, whether I coach, whatever it may be. I get to help people every single day be better than they were the day before. And that I can't think of anything that just feels better than that.
I mean, if you're doing something you don't like and you feel you're not having success in it, you better make as much money as possible doing to compensate for you so you can get out of it.
Right. Get out. I mean, make money and then get out if that's what you're going to do.
If you really do you check everything in your life and you put it that you're the type of person that journals, and you look at a book and you look at the things that you really enjoyed in your life, so little of it costs money.
Yeah.
So it really is true. The best things in life are free. We just tend to try to keep track of our success through our money. And there are people that make more and more money every year and are more and more miserable every year.
Yeah. And then when they lose it all, they don't know what to do. Right? How many people have we known who've committed suicide because they had all this money and lost it?
And it's shocking. Or they commit that suicide when they have the money.
Yeah.
Because the money is doing nothing for them, and then they do an evaluation of their life and they have a lot of regret.
Because the money can't fill the emptiness.
Well, their children they've lost their family members and their friends. You think Christmas Carol, which is coming up probably earlier than every year. I mean, speaks to all. None of us want to be Scrooge, right?
My favorite movie is Christmas Carol, and I watch every version, starting Christmas Eve through Christmas, starting with the 1910 silent version, and work my way up until.
Even Bill Murray and Chevy Chase.
Oh, Scrooged is in there. Scrooged is in there for sure. Absolutely. You have got to include Scrooged in there. Of course, the best version is the 1942 version with Sir Alistair Sim, I think is probably the best version, but yeah, great flick.
The uncolorized version, not the colorized version.
Not the colorized version.
Yeah, I mean, because that's really, it's a perfect, Dickens just nipped it completely in the bud, because he's going back there and looking at all the times he did have joy in his life with his girlfriend and with his family and with his mentors. And instead he judged his life by his money and was absolutely miserable. But the best part about it is, regardless of the fact that he was a decrepit, ancient old man on the verge of being a ghost, he's able to completely redeem himself. And I feel that that's for everyone. Everyone that's listening to this program or may listen to it in the future, realize that redemption is within your own hand, and you can be your own guide to where your future is going to be. And really anything is possible with the right mentality. I mean, if you're not going to be a tennis pro, but there's certainly ways that you could live actively involved in tennis as something as part of your life. There's no question about that. I was on the track when I was a kid to be a rabbi or an attorney or a professor, and ended up on a path of sales. But I'm sitting sitting in a room right now with a few thousand books in it that I pick up all the time, and I'm always actively involved in my own education. So you can do these things. And Rena, I think you're not too old to do those things. You got to do them if that opportunity arises, and don't let your husband give you doubt. He can take a 2-year break and figure out what he's going to do with his life. And so I'm going to just ask a real quick question. You just say yes or no, and then we'll end it for the day. Rena, have you made it?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Damon, have you made it?
Not where I want to be.
Not almost though. You're almost there.
On the way.
Okay, great. Katie, have you made it?
I think for the time, if you're looking at, in 4 years, what I've accomplished, yes. But in the span of what more can I do and will do, no. But I think if you're comparing making it to time frame, yes.
Great
But not.
explanation. Lisa, have you made it?
Yes.
I know you made it. Clint, have you made it?
I'm going to combine Damon and Katie's answers. And, I would say, look at me. I'm here with you fine people.
Great. I appreciate that. Jay, have you made it?
Yes, but there's work to do.
Still work to do.
Mhm.
I think that's great. I think we should reflect on this question. And the question for next week will be, what will it take for you to make it if you haven't? And what more work do you have to do if you have made it? Because there is always more work to do. Thank you all. I want you all to go to rockstarconnect.com. A lot more events. We added 3 more cities last week, and more cities are coming, and more fantastic hosts that are going to connect people all over the United States. That's on rockstarconnect.com. If all you wonderful panelists could just wave goodbye, we'll see you again next week. Thank you so much.